All right, so let's kick things off. Welcome to the channel. Today, we're going to get back to it, our usual financial discussions. I think today will be a good one. We are going to talk about primetime Deion Sanders. And for those of you all that don't know, he is moving on from Jackson State to Buffalo, or Colorado, rather. So we really want to talk about the money aspect of this. That's what we always talk about on this channel. I'm going to bring the brothers up. We're going to start off. It's just going to be me and Sim. Hopefully the others can join as usual. If not, we will keep it rolling. I'm going to go ahead. First of all, introduce myself, Perry Unlikely. My channel primarily focuses on cryptocurrency. And if you've not been living under a rock, you've seen a lot going on in cryptocurrency with FTX, BlockFi. Basically, it's like 2008 all over again, except for crypto. But crypto is where I reside, as well as real estate. I'm going to bring Sim up, let him introduce himself. So here we go. Welcome to the channel.
Salute. How's it going, bro?
Doing great, man. No complaints whatsoever, man. How's it going?
Man, listen. This is a big story today, man. Everybody, I mean, everyone is talking about this. So
Absolutely.
I'm looking forward to having this conversation, man. Like, it's a wild thing, when you see it's like a wildfire that's happening all across the internet. Everyone is talking about the decisions that have been recently made by Deion Sanders, prime time. And
Absolutely.
So I'm looking forward to us having a discussion today. And of course, we're focusing on the money, and we're going to see what everything he has in store for his future team, to be.
Absolutely. Yeah, man. I'm excited about this discussion as well, because, to me, this topic, part of it, we like to pocket watch, and we like to make decisions for other people a lot of the time when we don't have our own stuff together. And that's something I've seen for years. And we constantly feel like someone owes us something. So, you can already tell with, kind of my sentiment with that, how I feel about some of this. But I think it is fair to have a true discussion, see how people feel. But mainly for those that do feel a certain way, I think it's important for them to explain why and have a chance to justify that, if that makes sense. It's one thing to say, well, I feel he should stay. He owes it to him, or whatever the case, he owes us this. But you got to be able to articulate that and explain that. And we got to get below the surface level, on it. So excited to have the conversation for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, and who are we to even speak, right? Who are we to speak on someone else and how much they should be sacrificing it, in their life when they spend their own 24 hours doing what it is that they want to do? Who are we to say, hey, maybe just a little bit while longer, all the while we're sleeping in our beds, comfortably waking up, doing whatever it is that we're doing. And so it's really interesting that the sentiments that I've seen across the internet, and people saying that this decision came from a place of I'm not going to say just deceit, but it just seemed like his morals or his motives might have been a little bit deceptive from the onset. So I don't know. I think it's really interesting, and I'm looking forward to the discussion that we're going to have, where we can actually just go through what are the things that actually moved him to get to this place today. Absolutely.
So let me start off real quick. And we're going to just really quickly, we're just going to take a look, as far as, what are the figures, what do the figures on this look like? Because I think that's important so that people have an understanding, right? So just as far as the figures, you can see right here, how much did primetime, we're talking about Deion, I'm going to call him primetime, how much did he make at Jackson State? So Sanders initially signed a 4-year deal worth $1.2 million for the contract. That's base salary. So $300,000 a year, right? So with that $300,000 a year, what he did promise was, if he left early, whatever was remaining on the contract, he would pay half of that back. So just so people understand, he owes, based on that, he owes $300,000. There's 2 years left on the contract. So so he owes that. So I did want to point that out so people understand just a round figure on what that first deal was. So that first deal was 4-year, $1.2 million. So I just think it's important, to point that out. So, I think it's important, we got to talk about his accomplishments, right? First of all, Primetime doesn't need any introduction, right? As far as who he is, legendary. I mean, there's really no other way around it. Honestly, just a legendary player from the get. Probably most known for the Dallas Cowboys, right? Of course, he obviously played for some other teams. I'm glad he played for the Falcons. I've been a Falcons fan forever. But he played for San Francisco as well, and he played for Baltimore. So one of the greatest athletes ever, hands down. Also played Major League Baseball. The most successful to ever do both of them. Only a few have done both of them. Certainly the most successful to do both of them. So I just wanted to point that out. I think everybody knows that. So we're talking about a guy who has had tons of success. Oftentimes in the corporate world and the sports world, people are journeymen. Even myself. I start out in Alabama. I go to college to move up. I end up working in Alabama, starting out of college. I end up going to Baltimore. Then I end up coming to Atlanta. You want to move up, you take opportunities, and that is essentially what coaches do even more. I mean, it happens a lot in the corporate world, but even more so when it comes to coaching. So I just want to point that out, right? So I want to set that up just because I think it's important that people understand that Prime is not someone who has to do this. And for those of you not familiar with Jackson, Mississippi, that is not the go-to destination. This is not the Bahamas. This is not Paris. It's not New York, right? So we're talking about a guy who up and moves, leaves what he's got going on for something he essentially doesn't need to do this. So I think it's important. To set that up. But as far as the accomplishments, we have to understand that Prime had all that going on going into it. He goes there and they just won their second SWAC conference championship, right? So he literally has resurrected a dead program to the highest level and has brought more attention to HBCUs than probably ever. I can't think of any time when they had this much positive recognition and attention on a national level. I mean, we're seeing these games on ESPN, games that would have never been played there. So I think it's important just to to bring that stuff up first. Now we talk about real quick. I just want to touch on Buffalo, but I just want to real quick, Sim, do you have anything to add as far as just Prime from the aspect of coming there and the HBCU, him coming to an HBCU and maybe what he's been able to accomplish in that short time there before I go on and explain more of the Colorado aspect and that contract and things like that?
Yeah, what I can say is that, what they've done a really good job of doing is marketing the school and the team. Anytime you saw Deion Sanders, you always saw him advertising for the team, advocating for the team. And it was an opportunity for the school to get exposure. So every single time you saw him advertising for the team, whether it's a hat, whether it's his hoodie, whether he's bringing people there in order for him to speak and inspire the students. He was constantly inundating us with social media posts about what's happening there in order for that buzz to be created. If they've done an amazing thing, if they've put on a clinic for anything, they've put on a social media marketing clinic. And it can't be denied the things that they've done. And we can't say that there was not a tremendous amount of work that went into what he's done. I mean, look at it. For the first time, HBCUs are getting an opportunity to get first round draft picks from high school, or top recruits. And I can't say that that's something that's been a part of that conversation before. I can say that it was a part of the dream that people had when I was a younger man, and they said, "Oh man, it would be great one day if we can have an opportunity to get HBCUs to get a top recruit," and now they can be considered as a viable feeder for the National League. And so, I mean, it's been a really an impressive amount of work that he's put in here in the last few years, and it can't be denied. And I'm looking forward to the things that you bring up about his contract. I mean, $300,000 a year for the average person is nothing to sneeze at. But you're talking about someone who's a football Hall of Famer. Like, he doesn't need $300,000 a year in order for him to take care of his family. I'd almost say his lifestyle is probably a little bit more than that, or something close to that. So I think that it was really great that he was willing to invest and contribute at this institution with the work that he did. And now he has an opportunity for him to take it elsewhere with the same thing in mind about improving their program and showing them that he has the ability to turn their programs around.
Man, I think that's a good take. I think it's important. I think it's a great take. I think it's important to point out. I just want to point out something about college sports in general. So one thing that people have to understand about college sports is it comes down to money, and it comes down to tier. So one aspect of it is everybody, I think, at every level almost, right? There's always some people that feel different, wants to operate at the highest level. So everybody wants to be at the highest level. It's no different when it comes to coaching. It's no different when it comes to playing. And it's very important that people understand HBCUs, when it comes to, football and sports in general, they're not at the highest level. It's not to say they can't be there, but they're not at the highest level. And there's a number of reasons for that. But if you're not operating at the highest level, these athletes aspire to go on to the next highest level, which is to the league. Whenever you go to an HBCU, you are giving up, certainly before prom was there, you're giving up an opportunity to play in the national spotlight. Being on TV every day is a chance for scouts, NFL scouts, to evaluate you. They evaluate you to get good game footage. When you're on ESPN every other night or every week, it's just an opportunity for you to be seen and an opportunity for you to get that elusive NFL contract. So it's important that people understand that it's a lot deeper down even to the player level of how you get exposure and how you get your chance, and your shot at the next level. So it's just important, it's just important that people understand that. And something that I know has a lot of people, Sim, upset. At HBCUs have had some legendary coaches, right? And HBCUs have been a place where some coaches have went and they'll stay basically a lifetime. That is not the way it works for the most part, that's not the way that it works at these Power 5 schools. It's, winning 8 games is good, but I'll give you a good example. Mark Richt won 10 games basically every single year for Georgia. for like a decade, more than a decade and a half, right? It wasn't good enough because he didn't win a championship. When you get to the next level, that's how it is. But if you want your name in lights, that's what it takes, right? So as big as Prime is, I do want people to imagine the fact that, let's say you or I go there. We put up the same record that Prime does. We don't bring that school any attention. We get a little buzz, but we don't put it in the spotlight the way that he did, and it's because of who he is, right? So I think that a lot of people have in their mind, because they've seen HBCUs have some coaches who have been there for a long time, and I think there's more of an element to HBCU. Certainly, Power 5 schools have bands; they take them seriously. But let's face it. When it comes to HBCUs, and my wife went to a HBCU, so my wife went to FAMU. So, I fully understand the level of, it's about the band. Football to them is not as big of a deal. It's just not, to where, I went to Auburn, the band is a part of it, but football is 100% what it comes down. It's all about football. It's all about on the field, what happens. You don't have to ask someone what they're doing on Saturday night. They are going to go to the game. Man, woman, whoever. So it's just a different aspect. And I almost think it was like a honeymoon that people didn't think was going to end. That's essentially not even thinking about, does Deion have goals? Does he have things he wants to achieve? And I think that's something that I just want to touch on. That's important. People weren't thinking about what Deion wanted to accomplish. But I'll let you make any comments you want to, Sim, and then I will at least allude to what he was leaving to go to, so we can draw the comparison.
Yeah, I mean, come on, now, like no one can say that they haven't spent some time with someone who is really, really good. Let's say if you grew up playing any sports, right? If you had someone good, let's say you were playing pickup basketball, right? If you had the benefit of playing with someone who's really, really good, you knew that they could do a good portion of the pulling, right? But you knew from game to game, we were only one game from the possibility of someone who's really, really good actually deciding, okay, it's time to go home, or they're ready to leave, So your run is only as good as that person being present. So there's no way that they could sit there and say, hey, this guy's going to stick around with us. We don't have to worry about him exploring other opportunities. Like I don't think it's really smart for any institution to think that anyone who's having a good run does not have aspirations of doing something on a bigger level. So, I think that it's dishonest for anyone to believe that he didn't have aspirations of doing anything bigger than Jackson State, because, I mean, if he's played at the national level, why would he just settle for that, for the sake of just being the savior for that institution when he has an opportunity to explore bigger things?
Man, that's an excellent point. I mean, once again, we're talking about Prime here. We're not talking about someone who didn't make it to the highest level to begin with. So I think that's a great point. So I do want to point out, where he's going to. So he's going to Colorado. I do want to make sure people understand, and this is not to slight Colorado. This is potentially the worst job in Power 5 conferences. It's the bottom of the barrel. One win this year. One. If I'm correct, in the past, I want to say since maybe the past 15 years, I want to say 17, but I know like 15 years, I think they've had one winning season in 15 years. This is the bottom of the barrel. But I'm excited for Prime because I think he'll be someone who can help. But in terms of, the actual contract, let's take a look at that. So in terms of the actual contract, so he's going, and this is a deal that's going to pay him to the tune of $29.5 million. So in his initial, in the first year of this contract, so let me just point this out. It says the deal will pay him $29.5 million, which is an average of $5.9 million per year. Sanders will make $5.5 million in the first year and will earn $200,000 in raises each year over the life of the contract. So I did want to point that out. So one thing we obviously, you know, we always talk about money. Sim, that is 18. It's more than 18 times per year what he makes right now. More than 18 times.
1,800% increase right there, man.
Right. I mean, like that. And that's to go to the worst Power Five. So what's important for people to understand, and I know this is a drastic comparison because we're talking about one of the greatest ever, well, probably the greatest to ever do it, Nick Saban. Nick Saban makes more than double that. Wow. This is the setup to essentially maybe position yourself to be at, 36 times, 40 times that amount of money. And we're just talking in a year. So his first contract is a deal for $1.2 million. This one is a deal for $29.5 million. So we have to always look at the numbers. And I do want to point out, it did say Colorado AD, the athletic director, admits we don't have the money yet to pay his contract.
Wow.
Now the thing about that's important for people to understand, they don't have the money yet because their program has been trash. And the boosters are not going to pay into trash. When you get a guy like this and you get the boosters back engaged, which with primetime is absolutely going to happen. If he put an HBCU on the map like that, you can only imagine what he's going to do at Colorado. And by the way, Colorado, and it's been a while, Colorado had a heyday and they were it's been like 20 years ago, but they were at the top. So this is not a program that's always been in this position. It's just happened over time. So he's going to be likely able to do the same thing. So although they don't have the money today, I guarantee you that sentiment will change over the next couple of months where people are starting to get together. And it's important to remember the easiest comparison to make, the easiest two, right? Phil Knight with Nike, Oregon Ducks. We've all seen all the uniforms they have, all the money he pours into it. You got Under Armour, who he went to Maryland. They always got flashy uniforms, but you got people, those are people who pour into these programs. Well, though they may not be as big as a Phil Knight and that type of thing, these are still going to be some big boosters that start to pour in the program. They'll have no problem paying his contract. But now, I want to turn now. I want to make this point, and then I'm going to turn to you, and I really want to get your opinion, Sim. My first take on this, and now I didn't go to HBCU. My wife did, right? She agrees with me. The first thing I would ask people who disagree and are upset, I've heard all kinds of comments. I saw Boyce Watkins talking about it, all kinds of stuff about, he's going to the plantation. Just all kinds of stuff. And I understand people are going to have their take. I'm sure, I'm sure Umar Johnson would have something to say about it, right? But the first thing I said was, for all the people upset that went to an HBCU, or even the ones who didn't, right? Let's poll them and see who they work for. The odds are, statistically, it's not an African-American owned company. It can't be. Just statistically, it can't be. So why is it okay for you to go out into the world, right? For you to go to a hospital, for you to go wherever and work, and it's fine. But when it comes to him, he's working on the plantation. Why is what's the difference? How can you justify what you do to make money, and you will up and move across country for an opportunity to make more money in a heartbeat, but when it comes to him, he owes the community something. That's the first take that I had. I just want to get your opinion on, first of all, do you agree with the sentiment that he has somehow let them down, the black community, the HBCU community? And, and if you do, elaborate on that. And if you don't, also you can elaborate on that. But that was my first thoughts when I initially just saw people's reaction, because I knew it was coming. But the reason I was shocked, one thing I want people to be very clear on, he had been saying over and over and over from the beginning, when they come making offers, I will entertain them. I am going to entertain offers. He said that from the get. He's always said that. So I just want to make that point. But what's your thought on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that how better can we expect a Hall of Famer to move, right? Like, it's not like he's choosing Jackson State as an opportunity after everyone else has denied them, and this is the only option. I mean, one could say that initially he wanted a Florida State job, right? And he opted to go ahead and to do the Jackson State opportunity. But look at what he's done the last 3 years as a result of him being involved there. The investments that had been made locally, they didn't even have a practice field to work out at when it was raining. So, I mean, who are we to even say where he should be staying and how he should be going about living his life? One thing that I find really, really interesting is that, yeah, it's easy for you to comfortably save from your house, whether it's in the suburbs or your house, what have you, for you to say how someone else should be doing things for the sake of the community, when on a day-to-day basis, you don't know what this man is doing in order for him to invest into those young men, And the part that's really, really interesting to me, because, at first thought, I'm saying, it's like, wow, okay, now he has a number, he has a number. He has been inspired as a result of the opportunity for him to make more at this other place. But then once I started really looking into what exactly he's doing, then it became clear to me. I was like, this man is literally focused on making sure that he creates a legacy of making it happen. And he welcomes the challenge of taking a school that does not have a history of winning and turning the program around in order for them to have a culture of winning and getting things done, And he's not coming to Colorado by himself, right?
Right.
And we haven't even really spoke on that, right? He's not coming to Colorado just as him by himself. We can speak on that now, or we speak on that later. But it's important to make sure that we're aware. It's not like he left everyone in Jackson State and said, "Hey guys, see you guys later. I'll see y'all later. I'm going to take advantage of my opportunity. I'll see y'all later. I'll catch y'all on the other side. If y'all make it to the league, sure. If you don't, okay, whatever." Right? So I think it's important for us to make sure that we give him a fair shake, and then allow him to speak for himself and not to spend so much time speculating. And this whole conversation about plantation and the community, like, who are we to sit up here and say how a Hall of Famer, not someone who's just a Pee Wee football coach turned high school coach turned college coach. This is someone who played at the top of the game. There's no way that you could expect him to permanently be in a situation where he's working with a program that's not all the way fully developed. So, I mean, I think that his decision to do it, and especially since he prefaced his decisions leading up to now that he would say, "Hey, listen, if the opportunities that arise, I'll do it, but I'll make sure that the way that I detach and pull away from this program, it will be in an equitable way." And I believe that's the way he's moving about this situation.
Absolutely. And you know what? Something else to, just to give, a visual, because you did talk about, some things that he had done for them, what he had given up. I think it's important Just to illustrate this, Deion Sanders donates half of his salary towards Jackson State football renovations. So on another level, who's doing that? Who's really doing these types of things? So it's, so for people to be critical, as if he owes something when he's done way more than what the typical person is doing anyway, to me, it's just crazy. It just, it's just absolutely crazy. And, we got to remember, like I was saying earlier, he up and left where he was at. He lives in Texas still, but, to pursue this and really impact the kids. And as well, something that he did mention, there's a statement I like, he basically said, God told him when it was time to come to Jackson, and he's telling him. So he said, if he's telling me when it's time to come, and I can't ignore when he's telling me it's time to go. So we also, for those who believe, I want to think about it this way. Like, for those that believe he was doing the best thing he could do at an HBCU, it's almost like, did Martin Luther King, was his best work in Birmingham? Was it in Atlanta? Or was it when it got to Washington, D.C., and it helped change legislation? If he was doing this for an HBCU, what can he do, right? What can the way that he was able to act in this circumstance, because that's what we got to remember too. Let's not forget, you see, sometimes we get wrapped up in the battle, right? Let's not forget, these HBCU coaches aren't exactly, it's not like they're just getting tons of offers and opportunities, but he's already put the spotlight on them, which they will get more attention even with him gone than they used to get. So as he continues to move up, and he's bringing a lot of them with him. So we always talk about, right? You always hear about African Americans not getting opportunities and this and that. He's going to a national level program, bringing some of them with him. So you can't throw out all these other things just based on the fact that he's not going to be coaching at Jackson State anymore. So I just think that's important to highlight. But I should not be surprised at a lot of the reaction. And I do want to point out, I have seen a lot of the alumni that have shown themselves to be grateful. So I don't want to just act like it's one-sided. I've seen a lot say, look, we appreciate you for what you have done. But and honestly, to me, in this case, it looks more like people from the outside, almost your baiters, right, that have the issue with him moving on, calling him names, saying this and that, people saying he lied, which is not the case, that really have the issue. It doesn't seem to me to be the people at Jackson State, for the most part, who are upset. And I think when you're in the middle of it, you realize, hey, we know what this was like before he got here. And we know, so would we have been better off if he never came? Of course not. So it's, that's the way I look at it, man. It's just, we got to look on a deeper level. But what I hate about this is, this does tie back into a lot of conversations, Sim, that we've been a part of, where you can never do enough. And it's almost like, is it worth me trying to extend my hand to help only for it to be slapped and what I have done be spit on? Because that's essentially what I've seen happen in all parts of the community for years. And it's continued to play itself out through this Jackson State thing. And like I said, I just want to clear up again, I'm not saying it's people that necessarily go there, all of them, but the overall sentiment is people are not happy about it.
Yeah, man. And like I said, It's a lot of the fans, and I live in North Carolina, right? So I live in North Carolina. We have Duke and Carolina. They're 15 minutes away from each other. Two big name schools, very competitive as it pertains to basketball, right? But the fans, you'll see a Duke fan. I'm a Carolina fan, so I'll see someone with a Duke paraphernalia, and I'll say something to them. It'll be a joke, but they'll understand that I usually have a position. It's either I'm with them or against them. But the whole time that I'm sitting up here at odds with someone who's a part of the opposing team, or who supports the opposing team, the coaches are best friends, right? The coaches are best friends. They have a really close and tight-knit relationship. Even the students themselves, the players, they have relationships with each other because when you play at a high level, more than likely you've competed and you've been in the same circles, probably even the same teams at some point or another. So on the team, it's legalized battle or war, right? But off the court, they could be best friends. So it's just that competitive spirit that you have on the court, and sometimes people don't know how to actually keep it off the court or keep it outside of that space where the ball is in play. They have a way of kind of putting people against each other when the teams themselves, they don't actually move like that, So I think that it's really important to understand that. And the fans, they can have their positions, but like I said, they can't sit up there and say how this man should be spending his time. And let's be honest, how many people can say that today, that they were willing to take their salary at their job in order for them to improve their facilities at their job? Give up half your job in order for you to build a company up, in order for the company to be more marketable, to be more profitable. Are we willing to do that in our jobs, let alone asking someone who's a Hall of Famer to have the willingness to continue to give and give? Like I said, we're not there during the private hours and seeing how he mentors and takes young men under his wing in order for them to play and perform at a higher level. So I don't think it makes sense. And I think that, he's going to prove them wrong. And for some reason, people think that that he's going to stop being black as a result, or being an African-American as a result of him making the move from Jackson State to Colorado. I mean, I think that he still will continue to make the investments in all the students. And from what I understand, it's may the best man win. That's his position. May the best man win. And I want you to compete at the very best level and nothing else.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Great point. And something else to it is, in these decisions and these types of things, there's always other little pieces that are, that are important. His son was a 4-star. Shadur Sanders was a 4-star athlete out of high school, and with plans to play for I want to say Florida Atlantic. And he brought his son along. He brought people with him. So other people were tied to this decision as well, right? So it's just important, for people to remember that there was other people tied into these decisions. And I don't necessarily think that this was necessarily all that simple. And certainly with someone like Deion, I don't believe that this was just a financial decision. He's always said that he wanted to play at the highest level, and that's how you get to the highest level. You don't get to the highest level by staying there. You have to progressively work your way up, so it's the same as anything else. So I like this decision. I mean, I like it. I think it's part of the progression. I'm happy for what he was able to do for Jackson State and the time he was there, for sure. But I hope that we see more of these types of things. I think he could potentially, although it is Deion, so it's not everybody's going to have the flash he has and get the attention that he gets. But I do believe there's an opportunity for other people to use, and I hate to say it that way, but because I don't know, I do believe Deion Sanders' intentions were about the kids. I still believe it is. But But I do think there's people who they will come in there and they'll use that as a stepping stone. By the way, this is something that happens no matter what school we're talking about. But if being used as a stepping stone gets you new facilities that can get you better recruits, that can build the program up and get you more booster money, you should be happy with it. It's a win-win at the end of the day is how I feel about it.
And so, I mean, the things that he's doing, guys, the things that he's doing are unheard of. I mean, the idea that he's not the only one coming, right? So he's coming to Colorado. His son is coming as a QB to Colorado. 10 other players are coming also as a result of this deal, right? Not only that, they're making an exception for the transfer, the sit out expectation or the sit out policy. They're making an exception for the 1 year required for them to sit out as a result of them transferring from Jackson State. It's really interesting that he's not only coming to the table negotiating for himself, he's coming to the table to negotiate for the organization as a whole. And that's the type of mindset that you want someone to have that's going to be the leader of an organization from a coaching standpoint, because you don't want them to be only focused on their record and what's happening with them as far as a financial gain. You also want them to see the vision of their program, to see where the issue is at, and to see that, hey, this is something that I can fix right here. I can turn this around. It's just going to require maybe some personnel changes. It's going to require maybe some talent changes. It's going to require for me to step up my level and for me to take on some new challenges. But I'm capable of doing it. I've done it in my personal space. Now I have an opportunity to show that I can do it on a Power 5 level with an organization that really, really needs his help. So it's interesting.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I think, like I said, man, I think this is a great move. I believe it's also a move that kind of sets him up for success. Moving forward, like I said, this team was Colorado won 1 game. So it's going to set him up. I mean, if he goes in there and wins 6 games next year, that's beautiful. So I definitely think it's going to be a good move for him. And I just challenge people to really think about what it is that you would do. We know the truth about that is you would take the opportunity to move up and improve. Nobody's trying to stay stagnant. And I think it's worth mentioning. And I don't know exactly what his net worth is, but from what I could see, his net worth looks to be about 45 million, if I'm correct. Guys, when you have a net worth of 45 million, 300,000 is funky to you. It doesn't mean anything. It just doesn't. So, we got to be honest about that. He could have been doing all kinds of other stuff, but he chose to go to Mississippi. So I think that's important. You got anything else on it, Sim? And then I've got another question that kind of pertains to something else, but I would like to have your thought on it. But I do want to make sure we finish our discussion about Deion first.
Yeah, I mean, let's just not forget, this is the man who's known to zig when everyone else zags. He not only played in the NFL, but he also played for 4 MLB teams. And he did this during the same time that he was also playing. So he wasn't that he gave up one in order for him to do the other. He was playing 2 sports at the same time, So 4 different MLB teams. And then I want to say, I'm trying to recall the amount of football teams that he played for. But I know it was at least 4 MLB teams that he played for. And so it's important to make sure that you understand the work ethic that this man already has and that his willingness to do things completely different. Yeah, there's a showmanship, there's the presentation, the bravado, the character that he plays. But I think when he gets down to business, he's taking, and hopefully he's going to make those investments into the young men. He's going to put them in the same mindset that he used to have when he was performing and playing ball himself and say, hey, look, let's get it done. Let's get it done. Let's get it done. So I'm looking forward to seeing it. And I don't think that we're going to get a break from seeing primetime, right? Like the last 3 years, we've been inundated. Anytime they've spoken about him, it's almost even on a daily basis. He was dropping information or dropping some kind of content. And I believe that he's going to do the same exact thing. And this is the other thing, right? You can almost liken it to what Floyd Mayweather does, right? He's not just a talent, right? He also comes with a marketing engine, right? He's a promotional tool, promotional company that most of the legwork and the talks and the conversations happen as a result of the work that he's doing himself in order for him to stay in the limelight. So I'm looking forward to that, and you can't deny the work that he's been doing the last 3 years, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he does here going into the future.
Absolutely, man. Good stuff, man. Let's just take a look real quick at the let's just take a look at the chat. See Uncle Stu out there, Millennial Mark TV. As always, we appreciate the we appreciate the support. No doubt, and just really love to have these conversations. Definitely love having the conversations. Anything about money, moves, things like that. And we just appreciate you all. Let's see. Let me put this up real quick on here. Let's see. My bad. All right, here we go. And for some reason, my cam link is acting up. I see it flashing. I'm not sure why. I've never seen it happen before.
Yeah, we see it.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on. Salute to Perry Unlikely in the chat. Coach Prom is about to shake up this game. As a former D1 athlete, I know I would play for him. See, that's and salute to you, Ricky. I agree, and something about Prom is different. Just the way he talks, the way he moves. I would have loved to see him at Auburn, but I went to Auburn. I also understand with Prom, you get a guy who can essentially do what he wants. He's got that. He's kind of got that. There's just something about him. He's just able to kind of do what he wants because he's a star, right? And not every program can handle that. So I think that's I think that's something you have to be aware of. Some schools can handle that, and some schools can't. So, but yeah, man, I think he's definitely. I think he's already started to shake up things. I think you will continue to. I definitely think you will. What I wanted to, let me also touch on, because I see Uncle Stu had one right here. He said, yes, the Duke and NC is a real big time. Yeah, it absolutely is. He said, Simmons right. He said, I've lived there for 17 years. Yeah, I know Uncle Stu lived in that area. He's very familiar with that area. I was actually in Raleigh just a couple weeks ago. Actually, I had to go for a funeral, so I was there for a couple of days. But yeah, it's a big deal, and I'm obviously a part of the Auburn Alabama rivalry. Now they're not as close as the schools like you mentioned. To be honest, I don't know that there's any place with well, I know there's not in basketball with that many good schools that close. I know Wake Forest isn't that far away either, really, is it?
So yeah, we have Wake Forest, so the Demon Deacons.
North Carolina State.
We have NC State. So in the triangle, we have NC State, which is 15 minutes away from Carolina, which is also 15 minutes away from Duke. So it's somewhat the triangle as a result of that. But then we also have Wake Forest and, Davidson, where Steph Curry went. That's here. There's Clemson that's further south, and then of course South Carolina State that's down there as well. And of course we got Virginia Tech. That's like maybe like 3 hours away. Virginia Tech. We're just in a really competitive area. And as far as basketball goes, man, listen, it does not get more divisive than Carolina and Duke. Matter of fact, there used to be a rule here. Sometimes I think people have been a little bit laxed, right? There's a rule here. The rule is you can come from another state, but when you come here, you have to choose a local team, a team that you're gonna pull for when March Madness is happening, right? Like I was on Facebook today, right? And on Facebook today, the Duke fans were already talking, right? The Duke fans were saying that Carolina is going to go to the NIT this year, and so it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the year. There's always a Duke fan talking about Carolina. Now, State is not always in the conversation, but Duke and Carolina is always in the conversation. So, like I said, back to the people moving here. When people move here, we tell them, hey, listen, we understand you came from another state, but we need you to choose a team. It's either NC State, it's either North Carolina Tar Heels, or it's the Duke Blue Devils, right? You can only choose one. And the one that you choose is going to determine how people are going to feel about you, And that's usually the rule. And a lot of people kind of play well because when it's March Madness, I mean, Perry, in March, in high school, they turned the TV on in order for us to watch the games. In high school.
That's crazy.
That's how serious it is, So it's a real thing because like the teachers are invested in it, the students are invested in it, and you can just tell like everyone's wearing a paraphernalia at every given time. And we're very much about the competitiveness of that game. But when it comes to the coaches, they're tight. They're best friends. Both of them just retired. Coach K and Roy Williams, both of them just retired, but they were best friends, man.
Yeah.
2 peas in a pod.
Two legends. So what I want to touch on, I'd love to know what the chat thinks. And I talked to Uncle Stu about this the other day. So this is about well, it's about YouTube in general. I could say it's about crypto. That's maybe what's led to this conversation. But in general, it's about money, obviously. That's what we talk about. But when it comes to YouTubers, specifically the financial sector, at what point or what level of fault do they have in the decisions people make? And this stems from the whole FTX fallout. Obviously, big YouTubers, very big ones, have started to basically crumble away. And when I say crumble, look, these guys are massive. Your Graham Steffens, Meek Kevins, Andre Jick. These guys have massive channels. No, their views have went down some, I think, but ultimately there's no massive level of subscribers leaving, things like that. But the sentiment towards them has changed to a degree. And there's just a general conversation about because they were promoting FTX. A lot of people lost money. Is it all their fault? But I just was curious, what's your thoughts on what level of fault, does a YouTuber in the financial sector play? And what level does someone who makes the actual decision play since they actually took their money and made that decision?
Yeah, I think that this is a slippery slope because the conversations that we have, there's a notion they say that past performance is not indicative of future performance. So it's like we can't take the past performance and say that they're a promise of the future performance being exactly as it was in the past. Right. It's interesting because Kim Kardashian actually had to pay $1 million as a result of the advocacy that she had on her platform, but primarily because she did not disclose that she was being paid in order for her to promote something that she was not really subscribed to. It's difficult because you never know what these organizations are doing, right? We never know what these organizations are doing. We're just speaking on them as a result of like what they're doing today, but we really don't know privately what they're doing, the manipulative and the shady practices that they're engaging in. I would say that FTX is probably involved in a lot more things than we really understand, And from what I'm seeing now is that Sam Bankman Fried uh, is going on an apology tour, right?
Yep.
And even Anna dang, what's her name?
Yeah, I know you're talking about.
Sorokin. She's even sitting up here talking about him, speaking on him as a scammer, So that's from one scammer to another, saying
Right.
that
Yeah.
his apologizing is not as sincere as he's letting off. So I think that YouTubers, I think that it's important to make sure that their advocacy should be just based upon the information that they have today. They shouldn't be held to the responsibility of anything that someone does beyond them just saying, hey, this is an opportunity, because it's the same exact way, they're not supposed to give investing advice, right? It's supposed to be just financial information. But the SEC could say, hey, you're shepherding people in a specific direction. So we're going to hold you accountable. We're going to hold you liable. And they could easily just do that in the flip of a switch and say, hey, listen, we're going to fine you millions of dollars because as a result of your advocacy, we could say this many people signed up for the program, and maybe they didn't lose a whole bunch of money, but maybe the bulk of everyone together is a sizable amount of money. Maybe we'll fine you double whatever it is that they lost, So I think it's a tricky space, and I think that it's going to get to a place where people are going to really advocate for less companies, especially when there's a possibility that something like this could happen. I mean, who would have thought? Who would have thought? Because he was being pegged as the savior, for crypto, and he was seeking an opportunity to do like a sustainable or an equitable way of actually participating in the crypto space, So I don't know, man. I think that it's something that's going to require people to not be held as liable as they have been, because those three guys that you mentioned, they did end up apologizing, one way or the other, or at least making sure that they save face so they can make sure that their brand does not go down with him. But can we say with certainty that this won't happen again? I mean, I actually have another brand. There's a brand called Secure Save. Right? Are you familiar with Secure Save?
No, I'm not.
So Secure Save is actually a company that's started by Susie Orman, right? And I'll be speaking on this soon.
Oh, wow.
So Susie Orman so imagine, how we have our benefits at our company, right?
Mm-hmm.
So essentially Secure Save is an emergency savings fund account platform where they're taking your employers and they're directing your employers to make contributions into emergency fund, right?
Mm-hmm.
And essentially it goes from your paycheck, you pay taxes, and then it goes into the account, right? One of the biggest contributors in that platform, Secure Save, was FTX, right? So that announcement happened in June. So now we have Susie Orman last week, who's going on to a marketing initiative to make sure that she's marketing this product. But is she going to mention the fact that in the past she was previously affiliated with FTX and they were an investor, a primary investor when she raised the $11 million way back in June? Or is she going to leave that out and just continue to sell us the idea of her platform being an ideal platform for people to be able to trust them with their paychecks? Because they charge your employer money for you to have money invested, not even invested, just a savings account. And from what I'm understanding, there's not even an interest component, like a payout
wow,
part of it. So imagine you parking your money there and they're not paying you no interest. Right?
Man. Yeah, that's an L over time.
And I mean, think about it. Like we talked about this before, Perry. Like it seems like all the companies are going to the banking model, and
yep.
And look at FTX. FTX was leveraging that money in order for them to do whatever it is that they want. And I don't know if we can, how many more companies we can trust to say that they're going to do what they're supposed to do, when in the back end we might discover that they're doing something different. But yeah, man. So that's just something that I realized this past weekend.
Yeah, I just want to touch on that because for me, I think it's important that you know, we got to admit when we're reaching. And how many people were reaching trying to get rich? And I mean, and essentially that's what's happened. So my point is, and I had a video that I put out and kind of spoke on it somewhat. When it comes to Graham Stephan, if he wants to tell me about real estate, I'll listen. I know he's done it. You know, I bought real estate as well. I have rental properties, sell real estate. But why am I listening to Graham Stephan about crypto? Why? What credentials? I mean, you can go, here's the thing. And by the way, just because someone speaks on something on camera the first time doesn't mean they weren't doing it. I mean, I've been on YouTube a couple of years. I was doing crypto before that, you know. So, but, you know, Graham, he told us, we know when he bought Bitcoin. We know how long he's been doing it. He says it in his videos. So why would we? So we literally had people that own crypto before some of these guys. And you trusted them because they've got 4 million subscribers? At what point do you take ownership in that? You like, I mean, does that mean when Jamie Foxx tells you to buy Bitcoin, you buy it? You know, I mean, we just have to, we gotta take some ownership. But what it's made me think about is, how do you build the right platform where you can help people, but they also feel like, hey, I'm just trying to help. I'm really, you know, how you say, this is not financial advice. Hey, for me, it's really not. Do what you want. Because also the reason for me it's not financial advice is some of you can't afford to take the risk that I can. I can't afford to take the risk that other people can. That's why I'm saying, like, hey, I'm buying $1,000 worth of this. And me, when I do it, literally, if it goes straight to trash, it don't mean nothing. It could be your last dime. So I can't, how do we make them take on the weight of a decision that, honestly, if you'll put your last $1,000 in any crypto, you did something stupid, regardless of who told you about the project. So I think we're entering, the reason I wanted to mention that is I wanted to take this, you know, everything I've done up to this point really has been to help people. But what I also realized throughout this last bull market was, how do I set up how I teach people about crypto? And it was long before this FTX thing, where I'm not, because I don't want to tell people what to do, but they also understand that, see, I think once you start to tell people what you're buying, you got to also tell them what you're getting rid of. People aren't doing that, right? Like, I think I owe it to people. If I'm buying, hey, by the way, I'm selling Bitcoin. Hey, it's reached 40, I'm out. Do what you want, I'm selling. It may go up to 80, I don't care. I'm taking my profits and going. I think there has to just be that type of transparency. But I just think at some point people have to take onus over the decisions that they make. And there are YouTubers out there, they're much smaller, right? That really are just telling you, hey, here's what I do. Here's how I made my million. Here's how I came up. Do what you want with it. I think that's the safest way. But, you know, ultimately, people love to hear you tell them this coin's going to the moon. It's going to go crazy. You'll be a billionaire. And then when you get your dream smashed, it's like, dude, why would you think PooCoin was going to make you rich?
Yeah.
What kind of fairy tale are we living in? So I always like to get people's opinions, because crypto is one of those unique things where, it's the wild, wild west right now. I have questions about why the SEC has done nothing. It doesn't make sense other than unless they're somehow involved in making money somehow. It just doesn't make sense that they've done absolutely nothing. But, in trying to build up a platform and really help people, it's almost, to me, more frustrating the people who will just blame people that were talking about FTX than the ownership that they'll take over it, because it's like, but guys, I mean, if Graham Stephan tells me to eat at IHOP, am I eating pancakes tomorrow morning? I mean, at what point, so it's just frustrating, because I want to teach people to fish. That's what I said on my last thing. Teach a man to fish. I'm not trying to tell you, what to do. Look, there's all kinds of groups that'll tell you and call out signals. Hey, go buy this stock. It's about to go up. But here's the problem. You'll hold on to it and the stock will go back down and you'll have lost money.
And they won't tell you that they dumped it.
Yeah, but you know what? You're right. They won't. But you know what? A lot of it, you're absolutely right. They won't. And a lot of them, they'll pump and dump straight up. But I think even a legit one, though, that is saying, hey, buy this, signals show it's about to go up, because it's a moving thing, they don't necessarily know when it's going to go back down, right? So the crazy thing is that's why you got to learn the signals yourself so you can stay involved and when it's going to go back down. And you also know when to buy in. It's like, it's this ever moving thing. That's why you have to be real careful of what extent you try to help people. And that's why I really try to tell people in crypto, you want to get in crypto, how long do you have? And what I would say is, here's a roadmap. And I'm actually building one of these for someone who I told him I would send him one, someone I've known from back home. I've known for years. Hey, if you're buying at this stage in the cycle and you stick to these, history would suggest you'll do really well. You'll double, triple, 5 times, 10 times your money, more than likely. If you don't, it's because something that had never happened in crypto since 2009 happened. I like those odds. That's why I feel good with it. But you got to give yourself this many years, right, for it to play out. That's kind of the way I'm telling them. And then actually, I'm going to get to a point where once we get to that bull cycle, the bull market, I'm only going to tell people when I'm selling stuff, and here, this new project's out. Here's what it does. Do what you want with it. I'm not even going to tell you if I'm buying it or not. I'm just keeping you. I'm just a news channel at that point. I'm just simply telling you what these projects do. I'm not telling you, unless you're a personal close friend and we have that type of trust and you want to know what I'm buying, I'll tell you. But I don't want that blood on my hands. Although I have the purest of intentions, that's the only way I can see. And I feel like I can keep you safe. If we buy in the bear market, I can keep you safe. If you're going to trust me enough to do what I'm saying, although I'm just telling you what I'm doing, I feel like, you know what? You'll probably be okay in the bear market. Once we get to the bull market, it's like, you know what? There's this new coin out. It does this, probably has a bright future. We'll see. Do with it what you want. Here's all the links to where you can go and figure out about it. There you go. But hey, I just bought 10,000 of these whatever coins because no, it's just not safe. And although I have good intentions with it, if you're not going to do your own research and then come back and blame me and give me a reputation and spoil my reputation, and this is kind of different than FTX, right? That's a little something different where you're getting paid $2,500 to speak about it every time you speak about it. So it's a little bit different, but that is essentially what happens. So I just think it's getting harder to try to help people, even if you have pure intentions.
Yeah, and the SEC has rules behind it too, right?
Yeah,
Like,
they absolutely do.
so they want to limit the amount that you're going to influence people to do. But yeah, I mean, I think that even in the retail market, you can't look at things based upon like a short time span. You need to look at, like, if not the life of the security, you need to look at as long as possible of the time span, so you can see, hey, like where were they at 5 years ago, or what did it look like, more than 1-2 years ago? Because I'd almost say like the last 3 years, from 2020 to now, like
Mhm.
everything that's happened has been exceptional. Like you almost can't count nothing that's happened, because a lot of it has happened partially as a result of the pandemic, and
Yep.
some of it has been as a result of like the presidency changing and things changing hands, and the administration having different directives that they have in mind. We just have to understand that anything that's happened in the last few years, you cannot use it as a real gauge of like what would happen in a regular regular environment with no other catalyst besides what we just experienced in the last 2 or 3 years. And those are the things that I observe, and I'm along the lines of what you're saying. If you teach people the ability to be able to identify these things, then they'll be moved, and they won't be inspired by meme coins or meme initiatives, or short squeezes or whatever. Because I participated in something like that, and that's the place I found myself. I bought into what did I buy? I bought into, I want to say, AMC. I want to say I
Yeah.
bought AMC. I bought AMC. I think I want to say I bought it for four. I think I bought it for like $4 or $5. But no, I'm lying. I bought it for like $9. I think it was $9. I bought 10 shares, right? Bought
Hmm.
10 shares, $9. I saw it go from 9 to like 19, right?
Yeah.
And I said, oh man, okay, maybe it'll go up a little bit more. They were saying it was going to go to 50. So I was like, oh man, maybe it'll go to 50. And I just kind of shelved it, right? And what I did was, I saw it go. I saw it go to 20, right? It went to
Hmm.
$20. I pulled out my $100, right? So now I pulled out my initial investment. So
It's
now
all
all I
profit.
have, all it is all profit. So then the profit ran up. It ran from 100, and it ran up to, what did it run up to? It ran up to 150, right?
Hmm.
So that
Right.
100 ran up to 150. No, 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 no. I actually made $250 in that $100 investment.
Okay. Yeah.
So after I pulled out my 100, right? Then I went ahead and made another 250, and then I pulled that out. You know what I mean? And
Right.
I just happened to see it, and I just happened to be looking at my phone, and I went ahead. Okay, I said, all right, let's just go ahead and pull out. And I went ahead and pulled out, but I wasn't paying attention to the Wall Street bets guys and what they had going on. I had an idea of like, okay, if it goes to this number, I'm going to pull out. And Uncle Sam knew exactly what was going on. They were expecting me to file and to say, hey, we know you sold so many positions, and we're expecting for you to make sure that you declare it on your taxes in order for you to make sure that you're paying the appropriate taxes. Now, if you're doing a bunch of trading, I don't know exactly how that works, but I know with that one transaction, the rest of
Every
two
tra-
transactions.
yeah,
Yeah.
every transaction, I know certainly every transaction is a taxable event for crypto. At least I know for sure.
Yeah, and so I mean that just those two transactions were a hassle just for me to follow those. Making sure
Yeah.
that I look at line such and such, and then I go ahead and input into my return. And so I just can't imagine just doing that and not only not having the money, right? Like I was
Hmm.
fortunate to be able to come out on top, but I could only imagine what the position was like for otherwise. But I
Right.
mean, the short squeeze was unique because they saw an opportunity. They saw an opportunity for them to take down the big banks, but we're not going to always be in that position. And I say that the house always wins too. Like regardless, like look at even what happens. I don't know if you bought into it, but there was a glitch, or there was some kind of uh, no trading period that was forced into the marketplace, like something like unlike it's ever been done
Yeah, I
before.
know Robinhood, I think, halted trading.
No,
And it's
it
just
wasn't only Robinhood because
no, no, you're right. You're right.
I bought mine with Cash App, right?
Okay, yeah.
Which
Yep.
is not a good platform to buy anything. But anyway,
Right.
that's what I did, right? Because the money was fast, it was convenient, and it takes 2 days to clear, whatever, right? But just seeing that, like how they could freeze the entire market in order for it to stop the bleeding. They didn't want the big banks to lose. So
Yep.
you have to be careful of who you think you're going to oppose because, man, you don't know the relationships these people have with the leadership in Washington.
It's a rigged game. So shout out, we all the way up. Crypto Trading says, "What if you lose?" So I'm not sure specifically what that was pertaining to. Maybe just talking about when you are buying or when you do go into it. But yeah, that's the thing is you're going to have to learn, especially with crypto. See, I believe stocks too, but stocks don't really move in general. Well, stocks as a whole don't move because of the market caps. They don't move quite like crypto. As far as the money going up, I know smaller ones can, but because of that, you have to learn. See, there's no way to skip the process of having to go through. Like I remember back when I was getting into crypto and I had to watch it. Like I'd be up at 2:00 in the morning, 3:00, looking at it like, is it going up? Is it going down? But then once you've been in it a while, you're like, I'd be all right. You know what I'm saying? Or you kind of, if you're actually trading, you'll set a stop loss. You don't let it run all night. Just you learn as you go, and you have to do that. So you can't really latch on to someone else unless, hey, it's that type of thing where they're literally letting you know all the time, or unless you're looking more longer term. If you're buying some crypto, something you think is going to be around, and you're saying, hey, I'm going to give it 10 years, then look, basically, you just really, if you believe in it, you just have to check up on it and see the news to make sure that the program actively has developers working on it. So overnight, you don't wake up and like nobody's working on this project and it dies. But outside of that, when you give yourself a longer time frame, you don't have those same worries that you do if you're trying to make money in a week or whatever, and stuff like that, man. But yeah, man, I just want to touch on that. Anything else you want to touch on, man? Like I said, I enjoyed the conversation. Obviously, didn't mean to necessarily go off into crypto, but there's a big conversation on that right now. But yeah, the conversation with Deion, man, I think we should be happy for him. I think he served HBCUs very well, and made a lot of sacrifices. And I think that when someone does that, we should sing their praises rather than just having all this vitriol for him.
Yeah, definitely, man. And I understanding the work that he put in, like to the point of taking his own salary and contributing it towards the school and the institution. There should be no one saying anything bad about this man, because prior to him making those moves, like how many other coaches could say that they had the bandwidth, right? They had the bandwidth for them to be able to make that decision. Because at the end of the day, it's a write-off, it's like a contribution that he's making for the sake of improving the program. So why have this vitriol? Why disparage the man's name as a result of him choosing to make a move that's going to propel himself, his child, and also some other students to the next level? Because like if it's clear that you don't have the backing at that institution, he's got to go somewhere else where he can get the backing in order for these children and these young men to have an opportunity to perform at the highest level possible. So I've enjoyed the conversation. And there's a lot of this conversation that's going on, and I think a lot of it's going to be developing. So I look forward to seeing what comes of it here in the next few weeks or the next few years as he continues to really improve this program. A 1-11 record, that's like something serious right there. So we cannot sneeze at that, and we'll know that this man, he's coming to clean up. He's coming to clean up.
Absolutely. I agree 100%, man. Anything else you want to share, man? We can shut it down.
So you can find me at Simsia right there, like the name. You can find me at Simsia on YouTube. So my goal is that to have conversations about things that are happening in popular culture, and to maybe infuse some teachable moments for myself and also for the audience. Like I'm learning and growing as I go on this journey, and it's an opportunity for both of us to grow as a result of the experience. And so if that sounds like something that you're interested in, consider subscribing to the channel. And I try to have as much fun as possible. I'm a fun guy, and sometimes the topics can be a little bit more serious, but in general, it's life is too short not to enjoy it. So I look forward to seeing you all there. And salute to everyone in the chat. Salute to Friendsgiving. Salute to Friendsgiving for coming through and blessing Perry Unlikely. And I look forward to the next conversation.
Thank you for the love, Friendsgiving. We definitely appreciate the support. Definitely, I can't say enough about it. Thank you so much. Everyone, definitely go check out Sim's channel for sure. We just like to have these conversations. It's so important because at the end of the day, you really do want to help people. And I think the biggest part is just having these conversations. We all come from different places. We have different ways of looking at things, but it's one thing to just point out stuff, but how do we make the right decisions with money? And then how do we convey the fact that because there's so much flash, right? There's so much flash on Instagram, YouTube, about just about making money in general. But what you don't see is those who have been fortunate to make some good money talk about the fact that there's a process to it and there's ups and downs. And I think it's regardless of how much money people have, because it's all relative. It's all relative. For example, I have times that I'm like, you know what? Let me cut back because I'm always getting ready for another season. So I'm like, let me cut back. I'm doing too much. And here's the thing for me, because part of it's just where I come from. It's about stuff like people be like, man, why are you so tight about that? But I'm like, yo, like, man, I'm eating out a little too much. Let me just chill. But it's just because it's like every single dollar to me is a dollar that should be working for me. And if I'm wasting it on a sandwich that I didn't need to go out and eat when I got food at home, it's money I'm not putting to work. So, it's just one of those things, where I think we got to have those conversations, and it's important for us to have those conversations about not just, hey, I got this money, I got this, I got that. How you keeping it? What was the real process of making it? Like, let's tell the truth. Like, because don't tell me you're good with money because you're good at YouTube, right? Like, you're good at YouTube and that's why you got all that money. Don't front like it's something else that got your wealth. Don't do that. You're not helping anybody by doing that, So we got to just be able to, be open and have those conversations. And if you are good at being a YouTuber, more power to you. Now, what are you going to do with that paycheck, right? You got, in my opinion, you should take that and buy real estate and invest in, stocks, crypto, things like that. So absolutely, Friendsgiving. I want to thank you again. I definitely appreciate that. Appreciate the support. I also just want to mention right here, we all the way up. Crypto trading says, we can't be scared to have these conversations, and that's true. We are scared to have these conversations, and we like to flash around it rather than just, getting down to the nuts and bolts. And that's what I do like is fundamentally, because I'm fundamentally sound on money. You probably know what I mean, Sam. Like when you have the fundamentals down, you are able to step out and look at yourself and be like, okay, I'm tripping. Like I didn't really need to do that. I didn't need to spend that money there. And you can also kind of go over to parts of YouTube and other places. And this is going to be crazy the way I describe this. Somehow I got on this channel or something on Twitter, it's like fights. You'll see like these two fat dudes like knocking the crap out of each other. That's typically not what I watch, right? But I'm not out here beating the crap out of anyone, and doing stuff like that myself. So it's like, okay, 1 or 2 fights, and no problem with that. Let me go back to my business, right? So it's kind of like the same thing. It's like when you are fundamentally sound on your money, then then you might go over and you might see something on YouTube that's a little ratchet, and it's like, okay, let me pull myself back together again. That's we don't often look at it that way, but that's really how it is. It's like no one's path to financial greatness is just some upward path. It's not, man. It's peaks and valleys, ups and downs. And you just hope that you reach that point right where a bad decision was like, man, I wish I could get that 100 back.
Yeah. And
it doesn't mean your credit's destroyed, right? It's because you got you're fundamentally sound, but we got to tell people that so they don't feel like you're separating yourself from them because they haven't gotten over the hump yet.
And the fundamentals, exactly like what you're saying. Like I actually had a conversation with myself this past weekend. I'm trying to think of what I was buying. There was somewhere where I was at, and I had to talk to myself. I said, "Oh man, you don't need this, man. You don't need this, man. You still have leftovers, right?" Again, I don't know if I was getting ready to spend some money on something, and I said, "Oh man, you don't need this, man. You don't need this." And I had to coach myself to walk out of the place that I was at because of exactly that. My fundamentals, just like you, Perry, my fundamentals started with Dave Ramsey, right?
Yeah.
Dave Ramsey helped me with my discipline. He helped me to understand that every dollar that I'm not putting to work for me is a dollar that's wasted, And my biggest weapon that I have to contribute towards my propelling myself forward is that paycheck. And what you do with that paycheck really determines your trajectory going forward. So it's just the really practical things. If you can really like conquer your credit, and I had an opportunity to learn that, conquer your credit, become have dominion over your spending, right? We're not asking you to be perfect all the time. You can treat yourself periodically, but make sure that you're keeping record as we're going into the recession. Keep record of the things that you're spending. Tell yourself, if I'm going to spend this money, right? If I'm going to call myself spending this money, I need to at least hold myself accountable and write it down so I can associate pain with every time I spend money. That way I'm saying to myself, okay, if I'm going to spend it, I'm going to have to go through the process of writing it down, doing a line item or doing a spreadsheet and saying, hey, I'm responsible for making sure that I have proper accounting for my spending, because it's not until you invoke some kind of pain with you spending your money are you really going to be able to have the discipline to say, hey, like I'm doing too much, and as a result of me doing too much, now I'm going to have to pay for it in the back end. Like, look at you as someone who's quite successful, and you still have the same exact mindset. It's like, man, like I'm doing too much right here, and I have the ability to be able to see myself from the outside and say, nah, this is not helping me out, and I can do better. I have, like you said, I have food at home. I don't need to spend money out here, because a lot of that stuff, it's an opportunity for it to be convenient, yes, but like you're looking at an opportunity for you to spend money outside of what you have to. So it's a simple stuff, and you can learn stuff. Like if you don't know and you haven't done through Financial Peace University, you can look at stuff online. You can listen to his show and hear some of the principles that he has. You don't have to commit to his program. You just want to understand the mentality, just like Perry was talking about as it pertains to investing. Once you understand the mentality of someone who's sharing a certain message, then you can also have that same exact mentality and apply it to your life.
So I'll just say this real quick. We'll wrap it up. I'm with you on that, man. I got a for like hooking up all the gadgets and stuff. I got this dongle. It works fine. It's just, there's one, I forget who makes it. Man, I can't think of the name. There's another one. It's like called the TS3. It's very nice. It's got all kinds of plugins, and it's like a hub rather than a dongle. And I could get that, right? But it's like, man, do I need to drop a couple hundred right now? I don't have a reason to. I'm on here right now, and that's going to serve the same purpose, although make it a little more efficient. And then there's Elgato's got a Stream Deck, like a newer one, like knobs on it and stuff like that. So, all in all, we're talking $500. It's not anything. It is something, but it's not a lot. But I was on Amazon looking at those, man, hardcore for like one Saturday, man, like an hour and a half. And I was like, man, put your phone up, man. You don't need that, man. You do not need that. And then my wife was like, what you want for Christmas? I was like, look, one of these, right? One of these or something like this, or these right here. And I was like, boom. And I said, if you don't get it for me, whatever. But that's my point. It's just like, but I convinced myself, like, you know what? It's not something I need right now. And we're at a point in crypto where, look, $200, man, I can flip that to a lot, over the next couple of years. So it's just like, I'm not going to do it. So it's just about telling yourself. But absolutely. Thanks as always, Sim. I always enjoy the conversation.
Oh, yeah.
Next time, hopefully I know Wealth Engineering is not going to be able to join us for a little while, but I know Tim was not feeling very well. But next time, man, hopefully they can join us. We'll get back to it, man. And, thanks to everybody. Thanks for the chat. Friendsgiving once again, definitely appreciate it. Thanks for the support. And, and we'll do this again. Go check out Sim's channel. Certainly check out my videos if you want to learn about crypto, real estate, and in general, just have a conversation about money, or if you want me to put together a video on something where I can help you, it's certainly my pleasure. But until next time, take care.